Welcome in, everybody. I'm Joey. So, Forza's longest online race to date is here. It's at Le Mans. It's 17 laps, and at about 3 minutes and 30 seconds a lap, it's going to come out to about an hour. So, here was my first race. Lap 4, Mulsanne straight. I basically put the car in head-ass mode and six-geared it straight into the wall. Rage quit, and then did something I don't normally do. Practiced a little, figured out my braking points, got to a place where I didn't feel like a total head-ass in this car on this track, jumped into this race with a little bit more confidence, and here we go into turn 1. We'll take these next couple of corners nice and slow, trying my best not to be a turn 1 warrior. I certainly have my tendencies to try to win races through the first couple of corners, like a lot of us. So taking this one nice and patiently. We've got an hour to pick our way through the pack, or drop back as well. That is also a very likely possibility. I could also completely drop the ball, die, and fall to the back of the pack and rage quit again. Who knows? So we're through the S's, a couple of guys drifting wide onto the grass. Now I'm heading through Tetra Rouge and gunning it down the Mulsanne straight for the first time, getting this number 5 Porsche Penske up to speed. This particular car, I think, got 6th place in the 24 hours of Le Mans. So ironically, I'm in 6th place now. Hopefully I don't end here as we are coming up on the first chicane. Praying to God that I remember my braking point, which is just after the 200 board on the left side there. The entry is going to end up looking pretty good. The exit could have been a little better, but I guess I'll take anything over smacking face first into the wall and getting bent backwards like a paperclip. Now, the tune I put on this car, for better or worse, has 0 aero. I took it all off. That gave me basically a 10-mile-per-hour boost on the straight. We're going to maximize the advantage of that here, passing Star Race. Moving over to the right to take the second chicane, and Star Race nearly does what I did in my first race, diving headfirst into those tires, but they got on the brakes early enough. We're side by side on the exit, pulling in front, and Star Race will slot back into the draft as we pound it down the Mulsanne straight again. The lack of aero is definitely going to hurt me through the corners and under braking, but fortunately, there aren't too many times that I'm going to need to turn the steering wheel on the first, 3/4 of the lap. My hope is the top speed makes up for that lack of turning ability as we come through one of the rare 90-degree right-handers, and we'll get right back up to speed. So I am on the hard tire. That's not necessarily helping my turning ability. It's actually compounding the problem. But I did the GT endurance races the other day, and the hard tire seemed like the best strategy. So I'm trying it here. We'll see how long the tires last. My feeling was it was going to be a 2-stop for hards both times, but the race might throw some funky stuff at us. We'll see. Around the high speed right, hard to the left, and yeah, Star Race is basically me last race. Face first, in a wall, eating some concrete. Here I am. What an absolute beautiful moment. If we're going to dive deep into the Joey book of strategy, my next move would be rage quit really hard, but maybe they've got a little more patience than I do. Also, last race when I rage quit, I had almost 5 seconds of penalties through 4 laps, and that was not good. The weird thing about these races is they're like multiple times longer than the regular races, but the penalty time limit, the max until you get disqualified, hasn't changed at all. It's still at that 11 or 12 second mark. So we're out there driving for a lot more time, but your penalty time remains the same. So that's why practice was very important for me, because I would have just gotten disqualified from every single race. Track limits are a bit of a problem for me here, especially through this last twisty section. Let's just say I have a pretty nasty habit of sneaking a couple of tires past track boundaries. But this first lap has actually gone pretty well. No penalty time, and we're coming through the couple of final chicanes. Cutting one of these will land you a couple of seconds in the penalty box, so very important to take those nice and carefully. Someone off in the sand, one moving very slow, maybe slowing down for an accidental spin out. Free positions, we love it, and that completes lap 1. Skipping to lap 3, just coming through Tetra Rouge onto the Mulsanne straight. That incident at the final corner pushed me up into 3rd place, so we're in a podium position, but I'm now getting sandwiched between 2nd and 4th place. The draft from 2nd might give me an opportunity to slip up the inside into the chicane. I'm going to go for it here, looking for that 200 board, braking just after it again, and into the chicane, down into 2nd gear. Looks like we've got the move done, but coming out, both 3rd and 4th place are going to have some draft on me. I wasn't quite able to pull away enough from Punisher. At that 8/10 gap, though, the stream is not going to be very strong. So we'll see by the time we get to the second chicane if that gap comes down at all. It's actually just gone up a tenth, so that's thanks to the tune, giving me that extra top speed on these straights. Even though he's got the light draft, I'm still able to pull away. Into the second chicane, I'm usually braking after that second tree that's sticking out over the track. It's just after the 200 board on that right side. That puts me just in front of Punisher enough to get me out of the slipstream range. At the end of the lap, I do wind up adding to the penalty jar, drifting wide, getting lazy, not coming back onto the track early enough, and getting 4/10. Compared to the other guys around me through 3 laps, I am doing pretty well. First place has 4.5 seconds. I've got 4/10, 6.8 seconds for the guy in third, and then another 4.5 for fourth. So I am looking okay. Things are going to look even better now because I didn't look back in time, but I think Punisher just went for a bold move, cut both chicanes, and got disqualified. On top of that, the leader, who was about 11 seconds ahead, went into the pits as well. So now you're looking at the current leader of the endurance race right here, who happens to also be a big old Dumbo and just drifted wide at the same corner he got a penalty at a couple of laps ago. And now penalty time up to 1.8 seconds. So it's progressively gotten darker. And by lap 6, I think we can officially say it is bedtime, but not for us gamers because we've got racing to do. I am going to take a quick break and head into the pits, get a new set of hard tires, which are looking like they'll last me at the max 6 laps. They're pretty much dead at this point, so I'm thinking if I go another set of 6 laps, I'll get to the end of lap 12, throw on another set of hard tires, and then go the last 5 until the end. The thought of going for mediums did cross my mind, but I played it safe, went for the hards, and as we come out of the pits, still in first place, but MJD very close behind, only 1.2 seconds. For most of that lap, it stayed at around 1.2 seconds until we got to the Porsche curves, where this Porsche was not doing so hot through them. The Cadillac behind is gunning it through these turns, cut off a full second, and is now sniffing around my rear end looking for a way through. So immediately thoughts are going through my mind. Believe it or not, doesn't happen often, but they were here as the Cadillac is just going to slip through up into first place. But the thoughts that were going through my mind were, am I so bad through this section of the track that I gave up a full second and just let the Cadillac go into the lead? Or could this guy be on mediums? I was thinking he was on mediums at this point, but with heavy doubts, so I'll just have to wait and see if he pits earlier before finding out if that was the truth. So on the Mulsanne straight, I'm soaking up that slipstream all over the draft and into the first chicane. Pretty bravely ignoring my braking point. We're coming in hot. I'll just about avoid the sand, but yeah, expertly cut the corner, I guess. That is the proper line. I only got a penalty because the game's a hater. That was some track guide level precision. So you can find that in my Le Mans track guide coming out never. But that's exactly what MJD wants from me right now. That Cadillac wants to see me making mistakes, building up that penalty time. I'm falling into their hands here, and I can't be doing that. So into the second chicane, not going to make the same mistake, hitting that braking point, coming out very nicely. The Cadillac right on my tail, though. It's a sprint to see who can get to turn 17 first, but this is awesome. We're 30 minutes in, over halfway through the race, and we've got a fight for first going on. Fear the Fun in third is only 5 seconds ahead. Fourth, 10 seconds behind. It's a lot closer than I thought it would have been. And Koch in fourth place, they might be 10 seconds behind, but only 7/10 in penalties. So driving a little slower, but playing it safe and keeping that penalty time down, that's another strategic element that we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out in the end. So I survived that battle with MJD down the straight, but we're going again. Round 2, very close behind in that Cadillac. We're clenching our cheeks into these chicanes again. They scare me. They scare me. I kind of pee a little in the braking zones. Even when I'm not battling with somebody, they're just kind of scary, especially at night when you can't see anything. So looking for that gap in the wall after the 200 board. We're braking on that. Still a little deep, but not quite as bad as last time, and I'm not going to get a penalty for it. I even built up a little time buffer that kept me safe for the rest of the straight. So lap 10 comes around, and guess what? We're going round 3. MJD once again right behind, but mistimes the move off to the right. Ends up getting a face full of my rear end. Not a pretty sight, by the way, and also a lot of lost momentum to go along with it. Now, the Cadillac is going to do something pretty smart here. Just push me along the straight, stay on my ass, and try to force me into a mistake going into the chicane. Plenty of pressure. I'm going to deal with it all right, though. And out of the chicane we come, still in first place. A couple of love taps on the exit, nothing really more than that. We'll file back into our single file line and barrel down towards chicane number 2 for the 10th time. I've been given no rest for the past 3 laps. The palms are sweaty. I haven't made any terrible mistakes, though. I'm still in front. Did get that penalty for the first chicane a couple of laps ago, but for the most part, pretty happy with how things have ended up so far, especially if this guy is on medium tires. If he's on mediums and he's still behind me, that's huge, and I've done a pretty decent defensive job to keep him there. Coming into Indianapolis is where I make my next mistake. Coming in really hot, drifting wide, and I'm going to let MJD right on through. It was a great battle for a few laps there, but the Cadillac is now going to start pulling away through the curves, and at the end of the lap, I'm basically just crossing my fingers and hoping that this guy goes into the pits, and he does. So, my guess is that MJD is going on to hard tires. I'll pit for hard tires at the end of lap 12. So, at the end of the race, I should have a 2-lap advantage when it comes to tire wear, as I shrink my advantage a little bit and get a half a second penalty. But all things considered, we're looking pretty good. Lap 12 finally comes around eventually, and I've had a couple of laps to settle in, but at the end of this lap, when I'm about to pit, I run into a back marker, so I'm a little distracted, and I turn into the fake pit lane. It's not the actual pit lane. I just got totally distracted, thought it was the pit lane. It was not, and now I finally turn into the actual pit lane. I got juked out by damn Le Mans, but as we're coming out of the pits, we'll want to keep an eye on where MJD is. Was I able to jump him in the pits? It looks like I did. We're just a second ahead. And now that we're on the same tire, I was able to build on that gap over a couple of laps and stay ahead. So we'll skip to the end of lap 13. It's now getting pretty light out, and something interesting happens. Our leader, Fear the Fun 1, disappears. The haters will say I fried his router for the win, but I say a W's a W, and we're going to take this one. We'll come through the Ford curves for the last time, and there it is. That is going to be the W. Lap 17 out of 17. We'll cross the line. After an hour of racing, a really great battle, and some dumb luck there at the end, it's going to be a W. I put up a 3:35, but 10 penalties, so I made a bunch of little infringements that wound up totaling 5.8 seconds. Not great, Joseph. Not great, but that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, do all the stuff the YouTubers tell you to do at the ends of videos, and I will talk to you soon. Alrighty, bye everybody.